department of SASIT. This is the 7th session of this STTP, and the theme of this session is solar thermal collectors and its applications. I would like to introduce the resource person for this session, who is Dr. Vikram Rathod, sir. He is an assistant professor of Mechanical Engineering Department at SVNIT Surat since last 13 years. He has obtained his PhD from SVNIT Surat as well. Sir has conducted various expert sessions and he has published various research papers in national and international journals. Dr. Vikram Rathod sir has expertise knowledge in the subject like design of alternative energy system, advanced fluid dynamics, fluid mechanics, and theory of machines, etc. Currently, sir is supervising 2 PhD students. I am pleasured to welcome sir as a resource person for this STTP, and I on the behalf of SASIT, convey our thanks for accepting the invitation and sparing your precious time for us. Now I may hand over the session to you, sir.
Thank you very much, madam, for introducing me. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you so much for these kind words. I'll just start my present now. Let me have 1 minute only. Whether screen is visible to you, all of you?
Yes, sir.
It's blank actually, it's Word document only. Is it?
Yeah, it is visible, yes.
Fine. So let me begin with one very good quote which I like from our Gujarati author, Jai Vasavada. There are only 2 professions which gives you win-win proposition. One is the doctor. Right now you can see that when patient comes to doctor, patient wins, doctor wins. And teacher, you know, when a student comes to teacher, teacher wins, student also wins. These are the only 2 professions where both are winning, you know, otherwise one is always losing. So I think we are in that noble profession. I think most of the participants are also in that group. So with this famous quote, let me begin my session. What I will do first is I will explain you some basics and then I will start my presentation. So can you see the screen here which I have opened right now, the blank screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So good morning to all. First of all, let me talk about the various solar collectors and some basics of those solar collectors. Let's say if I talk about one of the collector here, let us say it is an inclined flat plate collector. Here it is. This is one collector, you know, on which you have a solar radiations coming from far distance, you know, this is actually a sun. Fine. So there are number of various terms which we will be using here in the presentation. I thought let me explain you initially, then I will have a presentation. Now there is one term which we put it as a aperture area. Aperture area. There is one more term called concentration, you know, concentration. Concentration, C. A term concentration, term C actually. There is one more term which is many times used as active solar. Active and a passive solar system. Now what is active and a passive solar system? And one more term is many times used is actually tracking system. So in which system we are using this term, let me explain you. See, if I talk about this solar collector, you know, this is the solar collector. If you measure the area here, this is the aperture area. You know, we know this is actually having certain height, let's say h, and let's say some width b. If I multiply this, I will get area. But this is a flat surface, so very easy to find area. There is one thing called concentration. Now this concentration is not effective as far as this flat plate collector is concerned. Suppose if you are concentrating, suppose you have this type of collector and you are concentrating at certain point. You know, this is how you are allowing it to have a concentration. All the radiations are concentrating at some absorber area. So this ratio comes. Then comes some ratio of absorber area to the collector area. This is actually a constant C which we are applying here. Now this can start moving from 1 to all the way up to, I will show you that it may go all the way up to 1500. This concentration, fine. Now, do you need tracking in this type of flat surfaces? No, you don't need it. Flat surface will remain as it is, but you need to place it in a proper orientation. You don't need tracking. Now, how many types of trackings are there? There is a single axis tracking, and there is a double axis tracking. Now, why we need to track? If you want higher concentration and your collector, let me just show you one more. Let me remove all this. Suppose you have a solar collector like this, where your concentration is at a line, line contact is there. This is your solar collector. Find this type of collector, let's say any type, we are not defining right now. So here you have a line type of absorber, line type. And here you need single axis tracking. Tracking mechanism and all we will see, but you need single axis tracking. Another type is, let's say if you have a dish like this, you have a 3-dimensional dish. In that situation, you need double axis tracking. Now, let me introduce one more term which is more frequently used, is active system and a passive system. Now, for an interaction, can anybody tell me what is active and passive system? Yeah, there are participants I can see here. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Can anyone,
Yes, sir.
can
Yes,
anyone
sir.
reply what is the active system and what is passive system? Okay, so let me talk about this. Suppose you are moving fluid with some pump, fine, or with some fan, or with some kind of machine. If you are allowing fluid which is to be heated is circulating with some device, then you can say it is an active system. Passive system doesn't have this type of devices. Fine. So these are also terms which will be used in this presentation. I thought let me explain you earlier before starting presentation. Fine. So now with these basics, let me start my presentation here. Okay. So this presentation is with the one of the author of the reference paper which I have read so many times and guided so many students, and I have learned a lot from that paper. That person is actually this Kalagirov. I will also suggest one paper to you which will help you in understanding these concepts and detail of this kind of work. So that's why I have put his name here. Fine, along with my name and my details. Is this presentation visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So to begin with, I am sincerely having gratitude to organizing committee and funding agency for inviting me as a speaker. Thank you very much for inviting me. There are a number of type of collectors. As I've said, stationary collectors, sun tracking collectors. This presentation is involving all this content, the thermal analysis of collector. We will talk about how we can analyze, how we can check the performance of these collectors. Applications, you have a solar water heating application, you have a space heating application, space cooling application, refrigeration, industrial process and heat, desalination, thermal power generation and so on. So this is the basic content of this presentation. Yeah, here this table is actually giving us the idea of various types of collector. As I've said, if you have a simple flat plate collector, it's a stationary, it doesn't move. You have to orient it properly, and then concentration ratio in that is 1. The temperature range in which it is operating is 30 to 80 degrees Celsius. Another very interesting type of collector is evacuated tube type collector. Again, it is a flat, you don't need tracking. Concentration, you do not concentrate here. Whatever solar radiations are coming, fine, they are absorbed at that collector end. Fine, so concentration ratio here is 1. Let me ask you, have you understood concentration ratio, or shall I explain you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Perfect. Understood.
Understood. Okay. So this indicative temperature range here is 50 to 200 in evacuated tube type collector. A compound parabolic collector, it is again concentration ratio is 1 to 5, and temperature range is up to 300 degrees Celsius. Linear Fresnel reflector, where you have a tube type absorber, temperature range may be up to 250 degrees Celsius. Parabolic trough collector, we know it is line type collector. Concentration ratio is 15 to 45, and temperature range is 60 to 300 degrees Celsius. And 2-axis dish collector, you can go all the way up to 500 degrees Celsius, and concentration ratio can be 1000. Here you can see that the stationary collectors have a flat absorber. Fine. This single axis tracking is required for a tube collector, and you need 2-axis tracking for a point source. If you have a point receiver, then you need 2-axis tracking, and that is really challenging. What are the modes of tracking? Full tracking, line tracking. It is based on your, as we know that you need to track sun, and we know that how sun is moving, rather earth is moving, sun is there only. So, but you need to track the sun, and that tracking, daily tracking is also required, and even hourly tracking, or you can say even few minutes tracking is also required. So 2-axis tracking requires all those concepts. Single axis, you need to track the sun over a, you can say 15 degree per hour or so. That kind of movement will do that, and even on a daily basis, you have to move your system. So I have seen certain systems where all this can be done with respect to the tracking. There are tracking mechanisms available. Fine. So all this you need to, again, depends on your location also. Fine. The movement of the sun, rather earth, is actually also dependent on the location. So location also you have to keep it in mind. The effect of tracking, pull tracking and east-west tracking, north-south is summarized here. I'm not going into detail of all this. Fine. There is a effect of pull tracking. You can see that what solar radiations can be there if you have a full tracking of the order of 1000 watt per meter square you can reach if you have a full tracking. And with the north-south tracking and east-west tracking, you can reach again of the order of 6, 7. So you can say normally if you have a single axis tracking, the radiation level of 700 watt per meter square you can expect. Now let us talk about stationary collectors. Stationary collectors means you are not doing tracking, you are just fixing it at certain angle, of course based on location. Then what kind of requirement is there? Based on that you are doing the based on that you are analyzing the system. One of the stationary collector is a flat plate collector. I think you may have gone through this. I think you are knowing more in detail about flat plate collector. Shall I move on?
Yes, sir.
Yes. But still, let me talk about what are the basics of the flat plate collector. First part of the flat plate collector is top part, which is glazing. You can say glass type of cover. Then you have a number of tubes through which the water or air is moving. the absorber plate which is painted black, and then both sides you have a collector tube which are called header, and then side covers and so on. Fine. So these are the basic components of flat plate collector. Yeah, these are the pipes, or you can say header tubes and so on. Fine. Now this figure is showing you what can be done in a flat plate collector even. What research work you can carry out, or what kind of analysis can be done in solar collector. First of all, solar collector of the water system is shown over here. Now in a water system, what you can have is a various shapes of these tubes. You can see here hexagonal shape of the tubes are there, circular tube. Circular tube are inside the insulation material. You can see here half inside the tube and half is outside. Or you can also have a rectangular shape kind of a tube. Of course, the flowing fluid is water over here, and of course the entire flat plate collector is inclined. So these are the ways in which you can also see the performance effect. Rest everything is same. The glass tube, the gap for air, and that absorber plate material and all, everything is same. But there may be an effect of the shape of this riser tubes, you can say, and even size of the riser tube. These are called riser tubes through which water rises from the bottom to top, or you can say the inlet header to outlet header. I hope this is clear to you. Fine. Now these are showing you the same flat plate collector with the air as a fluid, air as a working fluid. Then you have a passages for air. You can see the rectangular shape of air passages, thin passages of air, corrugated sheet for air. Fine. Like this, you can also do analysis of flat plate collector with a variation in the passages, shape of the passages. So now we are coming to the next type, which is actually evacuated tube. In between, I will keep asking you, am I audible and screen is visible? Because, these days online, you need to keep confirming. Yes, am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
Yes. So what happens, why I keep asking is sometimes net goes away, and sometimes, in this, kind of cyclone and all, the net is also sometimes irregular. That's why. Okay. So now here, this is evacuated glass tube. Let us understand how it works. See what you have a outside evacuated envelope. Within that, at the center, you have a heat pipe. Let us say it is made up of copper or any of the material. Fine. Now this copper pipe is having certain fluid inside it. Let's say methanol or some other fluid. What happens is, with the heating applied to this evacuated tube, that material or that liquid gets evaporated, and that evaporated liquid actually flows into this heat pipe condenser area, evacuated, or you can say vapor. Vapor is moving to this side, and liquid remains here. This is because this evacuated glass tube is in the open sun area. Fine. It is subjected to radiation, beam radiation as well as diffuse radiation. So this vapor loses heat to fluid which is flowing into this manifold or in this pipe. So this is how your evacuated glass tube is working. So there are number of cycles in which this fluid becomes vapor, it becomes liquid, vapor, liquid. This happens throughout the day. So I would rather say this heat pipe is shifting the heat to this manifold, and it is transferred to fluid which is flowing here. So there is some heat transfer fluid, maybe water, maybe some liquid, maybe some oil or so. So this is the concept of evacuated glass tube. Now this evacuated glass tube is basically not moving, it's fixed. It is fixed at certain inclination angle. Fine, it is fixed at certain inclination angle. But the idea here is the fluid is transferring or other idea here is whatever is the methanol or whatever fluid is inside this copper tube is transferring heat to this pipe over here. Fine. Throughout the time, 6-7 hours of sunshine. Fine. This is the concept of evacuated glass tube, and there is a vacuum over here, so that heat doesn't heat transfer losses are low over here. I hope you have understood this evacuated glass tube, or you can say evacuated tube collector. So this figure is showing you evacuated glass tube. Number of tubes are there. Fine. There are headers over here at the top and bottom, and in the header, the one which I have shown you, that part of the tube is there, which is releasing heat or rather transferring heat to water, and that heated water is actually transferred to whatever is your purpose. You can see here what kind of arrangements are there for this heat pipe. You can see here, this is the heat pipe, heat sink, you can say, where it is losing heat to the fluid. And what kind of, you may have seen a lot of solar water heater in domestic purpose where this type of evacuated glass tube is used. This is having higher performance compared to the flat plate collector. Now let us talk about solar concentrating type of collectors. Again, here you have some reflector, flat plate collector, but some reflectors are there so that some more heat can be transferred to the flat plate collector. So there is some concentration. This is also very interesting, like compound parabolic type of collector. Here the shape of the collector is such that the entire solar radiations are focusing on one small absorber area. This is a circular shape absorber area in which solar radiations are concentrated. There is an angle theta c here. These angle researchers have recommended around 45 degree. So here you can see that there are number of so here C will be higher. It's not one. Number of incident radiations are falling on one absorber. Fine. And the shape here you can see this D A to A. So this is a complex kind of a structure. Again, here what you are doing, this absorber area may not be circular. Absorber may be any other shape, but most researchers are using this as a circular one. And again, there is a series of this shape. So you have a line kind of collector, compound parabolic collector, but it is line kind. Yeah, this is again the another type of collector, which is the trough collector, solar trough collector. You can see here the parabolic shape is there, parabolic shape. That's why the name is parabolic trough collector. Here, the shape of the collector, height, and the aperture, all you need to design based on your requirement. Fine. And the receiver, again, receiver end is circular in shape. A receiver again has a glass cover, and receiver tube material may be aluminum, it may be copper or alloy, or depending upon requirement it may be. This parabolic trough collector requires tracking. And what kind of tracking? It's a single axis tracking. It is tracking the sun. Again, orientation is also very important, how you are orienting, and then you are tracking it throughout the day. But this is a single axis tracking. Fine. There are devices which are available these days, with sensors, which senses the sun, and mechanical movement of the collector is done with help of that sensor. Yeah, this is a pictorial view of parabolic trough collector, which you can see here. Now we are talking about another type of collector, which is Fresnel type collector. Now Fresnel is similar to the parabolic trough in a concept. I am talking about in a concept. It's not a parabolic or at all. But in parabolic collector, what we have is number of number of incident radiations are reflecting back to this point, point type of collector. So similar concept is there in a Fresnel type collector. Let me show you here. There are a number of mirrors. You can see here there are a number of mirrors here set in such an inclination that all are reflecting back to the receiver end. So it is similar, I am saying. It is not like there is no parabola or at all over here. Now this simple linear or you can say linear Fresnel reflector. What is the unique feature of this type of collector? The idea over here is all mirrors are straight. Can you see here? These are linear, mirrors. Inclination angle you need to design, but this is very simple in construction or easier to mount, you can say. And here there is a single tower, where all are reflecting back solar radiations to one receiver. Here the solar concentration ratio is very high. Fine, I'm not putting number here, but you can see that there are so many mirrors which are reflecting back to one receiver. So what people do here at receiver end is there is some thermic fluid or some heat transfer fluid which is heated to very high temperature, and that high temperature fluid can be used for power generation, for process heat, or whatever is your requirement, heating requirement. So this is the basics of simple linear Fresnel reflector. Here only thing is tower height is very high, and sometimes there are issues, shadow comes of one into another, and those were the issues. That's why people have gone for this type of another type of reflector, or you can say another type of solar collector, which is known as a compound kind of or you can say compact linear Fresnel collector. Now here, what is the advantage here? The tower height is slightly lower in this case compared to earlier, and there is no effect of shadow. This is first used by Australian University, fine, and they have found that those shadow effects and all are reduced, and it has a slightly higher efficiency compared to that one tower and a central tower system. Again, you can see why we use this type of collector. Is simple in construction, and you don't need curved surfaces as far as the collectors are concerned, solar collectors are concerned. That's why people go for this type of arrangements. Again, this can be used for power generation, process heat and all. So at this receiver end, what you need to have is a heat transfer fluid and all. Okay. So this is a compact kind of linear Fresnel collector. The next type is this type. As I am keep asking you, am I audible and can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So the next type of solar collector is parabolic dish type collector. Again, this is a type of collector you need two-axis tracking, and this has a very high concentration ratio. Let me put number here. This concentration ratio over here is 600 to 2000. Fine. With a large area, if you have this type of system, you can even put an engine over here. Fine. And this engine you can say. So this can produce a power. Fine. Power of the order of megawatt also can be produced. But this requires very you can say important aspect of two-axis tracking. And you can say mechanical and as well as electronics involved into this two-axis tracking. Those who are working in this area may be knowing two-axis tracking is challenging. Fine, and there are some errors even sometimes. So you may not get same level of radiations or expectations of that radiation. So there are some calculations also involved in that. So this type of systems are also there. You can say parabolic dish type of collector. Even designing of these height as well as this side is also very important as far as this type of collectors are concerned. But as I said, this is very efficient. It can generate very high temperature, and you can have an engine. Fine, you can run an engine on this very high temperature devices. Okay. Yeah, another is a central receiver. You have a towers. Central tower is there. And on the either side of the tower, you have a number of collectors. Again, this solar reflectors are linear, straight only. Fine. What happens in this receiver, this central receiver system? You can have a turbine and a high temperature fluid you can heat. Then you can have a heat exchanger and so on. So This is the central receiver system. Now I am coming to the analysis part. How we can have an analysis, thermal analysis of this collector. So general formula for this analysis of this collector is, let's say, Q useful. What is the useful heat transfer? Or you can say, what is the useful heat energy available? So for that, various, you can say, the components of this, let me explain you here. First of all, AC. What is this AC? So this is the area of the collector, GT. You know this, here GT is a solar energy incident on a aperture. We know what is the solar energy which is incident on the aperture area. It's actually a sum of two components. One is the beam radiation, another is diffuse radiation. Another component of this formula is tau alpha. This tau alpha is absorber transmittance. Absorber transmission, UL. Now UL is a solar collector heat transfer coefficient. TP, the plate average temperature. TA, ambient temperature. Ambient temperature. Ambient temperature will be the temperature of the fluid which you are allowing it to flow. MCP delta T. Then TO and TI, the inlet and outlet temperature of the fluid which is allowed to flow into the collector. So here this formula can be corrected, or it can be written in terms of heat removal factor FR. If you write FR as a heat removal factor, then this useful heat energy QU can be written in terms of, rest everything is same. Only thing is, if you write FR, then this, instead of plate temperature, you can write TI, which is inlet fluid temperature. So this FR is the heat removal factor. It is also termed as a correction factor. Let me again just talk about this thermal analysis over here. QU is the useful heat energy. It depends on area, the solar radiation, which we know is watt per meter square. Tau alpha is the absorber transmittance, what amount of heat is transferred, heat transmittance factor rating. UL is actually a solar collector heat transfer coefficient. Of course, these are temperatures, ambient temperature and plate temperature. And this is actually corrected in terms of another equation where FR is used, which we put it as a heat removal factor. Now, so with this, we can put efficiency of the solar collector, eta, and it's written in here, eta, in terms of FR, which is heat removal factor. And we have already defined UL, TI, TA, and GT. It is divided by GT into AC, area of the collector. Now, what is GT? GT is the incident radiation, or you can say that 1000 watt per meter square, or the somewhere around actual heat transfer value which we know theoretically it is 1375 or so watt per meter square. So this is that incident solar radiation which is falling on the collector, which is a sum of incident and beam radiation. I mean beam and diffuse radiation. Okay, next is the overall heat loss coefficient. UL is the total loss, which is sum of side and bottom and edge, and what is UT here? UT is the top loss coefficient, B is the bottom loss coefficient, and UE edge. See, collector has three sides, top, bottom, and edges. So sum of that is actually UL. So that is written over here. So sum of that will give you the total heat transfer, solar heat transfer coefficient. In the beginning, I have explained you that what is concentration ratio. I have explained you that it's a ratio of aperture area. Aperture area, if you have a solar collector, if you measure its area, flat plate, it's a rectangle. But parabolic, you need to open the surface, heat, in engineering drawing, we study the concept of, surface development. If you open the surface of the parabolic trough, it will become again rectangle. That area is actually known as the aperture area. To the receiver area, or you can say absorber area. So again, absorber area is a cylindrical. That also you have to open up to get this concentration ratio. There are no reflectors as well as flat plate collectors. So C is 1. We can find out C maximum, concentration maximum for both cases. So there are two cases. One case is where you have a single axis tracking. Now these two equations are given by researchers. C max 1 by sine theta m and another C max is equal to 1 by sine square theta m for single axis tracking and double axis tracking. For a flat plate, it is 1 only. Okay. For a flat plate, it is 1 only. Okay. So this theta m, if you substitute, you will get this C max for both cases, single axis as well as double axis. For C max, if we say that theta m, fine, for theta m is equal to 0.53 degree. If I find out C max, it is 216 as far as single axis tracking is concerned. So theoretically, you can reach concentration ratio of 216 in a single axis tracking. And for a full axis tracking, you can reach 46,000. So a ratio of 46,000, these are theoretical numbers based on theta m, which we have taken 0.53. We can never reach this actually, but theoretical maximum is this 46,700. Okay. Okay, for a concentrating collector, what is useful energy? What is useful energy? Let us understand this useful energy by this equation. Yeah, are you there with me? I have to keep asking. I am rushing through because I have 120 slides and I have reached probably maybe 30 or so. Few slides are pictures only, but I need to go slightly fast. Am I there? Are you there? Are you getting what I am saying? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I am just asking in between so that there is, yeah, I just, okay. Yeah, let me go back to the point where I have stopped. Yeah, I was talking about thermal analysis. Yeah, here it is. Now concentrating collectors. Now for a concentrating collector, we are defining useful energy as GB into NO into AA minus AR into UL into TR minus TL. Let me define various terms over here. Now over here, if I say GB is a beam radiation. Now when you talk about concentrating collector, we are not talking about diffuse radiation. Here we are talking about only beam radiation. Now what is NO? Fine, NO is the optical efficiency. NO here is the optical efficiency. AA. Fine, aperture area. AA is your aperture area. AR. Now what is AR? Receiver area. AR is basically a receiver area. Receiver area. UL, again, that heat transfer coefficient, or you can say solar energy, solar collector heat transfer coefficient. TR, receiver temperature. TA, receiver, or you can say absorber temperature. TA, the absorber temperature. Again, let me repeat. What is QU is a useful energy. GB is your your beam radiation. Only beam radiation we are considering as far as your concentrating devices are concerned. NO is the optical efficiency. Aperture area, receiver area. Aperture to receiver area is a huge difference. Fine. And UL here, as I said, is your solar collector heat transfer coefficient. Okay. Now out of this, let us find out how we get optical efficiency. Optical efficiency NO or theta O is rho times tau alpha gamma 1 minus AF tan theta into cos theta. Now here again there are a lot of terms. Let me define here what is this gamma over here. This gamma over here is a collector intercept factor. And over here AF is a geometric factor. AF is a geometric factor Here AF is again defined as WA, HP, F into WA and F. So out over here, WA is a collector aperture. So collector width, you can say. That collector dimension it is, you can say. HP is the height of parabola. What is the height of? So these are all related to geometry. This AF depends on geometry because your aperture length, height of parabola is involved over here. And you can say F is a focal distance. F is a focal distance. So once you have a geometrical aspect of the collector, size of the collector, you can calculate AF over here. Fine. And then optical efficiency depends on incidence angle. What is the incidence angle? It depends on that. Tau alpha I have already defined. It is your absorber transmittance. Fine. And rho over here is a mirror reflectance. So these are some of the dimensions, depends on geometry. Once you have a geometry fixed, you have a fixed number AF. Theta is variable, of course, and that rho is also fixed over here. Okay, so with this we can write Q useful as FR into GB into NO. What is NO? Optical efficiency, aperture area, receiver area, and of course this is the fluid inlet temperature. As I said, once you write FR, instead of plate temperature, you can write fluid temperature, and A is the ambient temperature. So once you divide this equation, useful energy, by the available energy, which is the beam radiation into aperture area. This equation is divided by GB into aperture area. So when you write aperture area to the receiver area, that is the concentration, concentration ratio C. So that's why C comes into the picture over here. So this equation is giving you overall you can say overall efficiency, collector efficiency in terms of FR, in terms of FR, and in terms of optical efficiency, NO, UL, and temperature difference. And GB is your solar radiation, beam radiation over here. So this way you can calculate the overall efficiency, collector efficiency. Which type of collector? Concentrating type. Flat plate we have already discussed. The formula for FR is here different. I am not going into detail of that. Fine. Okay. So here, let me go back. Here, this efficiency equation. Yeah. Okay, here it is. This efficiency equation can be simplified in terms of, suppose if I say FR into UL, this FR into UL is C1 plus C2 into Ti minus Ta. How I am writing this? FR into UL. Fine, here it is. Suppose this NO is fixed value, or you can say it depends on angle, but this FR into UL into Ti minus Ta. Fine, this efficiency is FR into UL into Ti minus Ta. That equation is written in terms of, here it is. FR into UL is written in terms of C1 plus C2 into Ti minus Ta. Fine. If this is the case, then this useful energy can be written as AA into FR. These are two same equations which you have finally derived. Useful energy, I am just going back. Yeah, if you see the final equation for QU, here it is AR into UL into temperature difference. And similarly, if you see QU for a flat plate collector, I am just going back. Yeah, this is Q useful for a, here it is, Q useful for a flat plate collector. Fine. Both formulas is having FR into this UL into temperature difference. So that is rewritten here. Here it is. Here it is rewritten. For a flat plate collector, you have this equation. Fine. And for a concentrating collector, you have another equation as this equation. Fine. Whenever you are free, you can check this. Fine, how it is written. But you can see here, this equation is a second order equation. Power 2 is there in both equations. So what you can do, this efficiencies you can write in terms of CO minus C1 into X minus C2 into GT into X x square. So this second order equation, if you say that C2 is 0 and K2 is 0, you can have a further simplification. Fine, further simplification. So I'm not going into this mathematics part of this second order equation. Fine, efficiency is FR into NO. So those things are like second order terms are very, very small. So you can remove that. So you have only two components of the equation. So that becomes very simple equation. Okay. Suppose if this third term is 0, over here also third term is 0, then you have only two terms as far as overall efficiency is concerned. That is what is explained over here. Okay. So with this, you can draw the efficiency plot. What can be seen over here with the temperature difference? Efficiency is a linear function. Whether it is a concentrating collector or it is a flat plate collector, you can see all are linear functions of a temperature difference. Fine. So for a temperature difference, you can see all type of collectors. You can see that highest temperature is highest efficiency is for FPC collectors. Fine, FPC, where concentration ratio is 1000. Fine. And for you can say evacuated glass tube, here this is the trend for a temperature difference. Temperature difference is of the order of, you can say 80, 90 or so. 80 degree or 90 degree is highest. So this analysis you can do with those equations with of course, here you have a lot of consideration. There are assumptions. I can tell you that this performance do not include the incidence angle effect, heat exchanger effect, heat loss effect, control strategies. Those things are not covered here. Fine. In this instantaneous, this is instantaneous performance. Fine. So those things will involve, then it may not be linear. Okay. Now there are other equations that see, we are assuming that solar radiations which are falling on a collector is 90 degree, but that may not be 90 degree. So there is a one factor which is called incidence angle modifier. So these are the equations for incidence angle modifier. If solar radiations are 80 degree, 70 degree, they are not perpendicular to the collector, then you have to apply this incident angle modifier. So these are the equations for incident angle modifier and a factor related to that. Fine. So you can say that reduces solar radiation. So this equation you can use for that. Another factor is concentrating collector acceptance angle. So what is the accuracy of that angle? Based on that, you can even draw this. Again, this is talking about what kind of error you can have when you have a tracking mechanism and all. So I'm not going into that. Another factor is collector time constant. Now this is also very interesting. I will just explain you slightly about this. What is this factor all about? See, suppose you are having the fluid temperature at let's say 100 degrees Celsius. To reach to that 100 degrees Celsius, it takes certain time. So this is a transient process. Suppose if I say that it reaches 63% of the steady state temperature, what time it takes? So for that, suppose if I say collector outlet water temperature, after time t is given TOT, and collector outlet initial water temperature is let's say TOI, and collector inlet water temperature, is let's say TI. So this is a time dependent, I am saying. For example, it takes some time to reach to this level. So this is actually called a collector time constant. See, it takes some time to reach to that steady state. Fine. So this collector time constant will give you what is this time constant. Fine. For example, it takes some time to reach to steady state. Fine. Are you getting this? Are you with me? That suppose you are having your collector which reaches temperature of let's say from 40 degrees Celsius to 80 degrees Celsius for some stipulated time. So this factor will give you that what time it takes to reach to that steady state. Fine. So with this equation, you can find out that collector time constant. Okay. So these things you can also do. So all these aspects are required as far as thermal collection is concerned, or you can designing is concerned. I talked about all aspects of this performance analysis. These are the factors which you need to keep it in mind while you design the various types of collectors. Now let me talk about what are the applications. What are the applications of this type of collector? And what are the collector efficiencies? Again, these efficiencies are also linear. So those factors are not covered into this efficiency. Like as I've said, various aspects are the incident angle effect and heat transfer effect. Heat transfer losses are not considered. Control strategies are not. But still you can see that what kind of efficiencies can be reached with various flowing fluid kind of collectors, pool heaters. You can see that of the order of 70% can be reached with the lower delta T. You can see evacuated glass tube. You can see as around 45% efficiency is there, and with a pool heating and domestic water and all, you can say a very low efficiency of 15% can be. Air conditioning, you can say around 18% efficiency can be reached. Let me talk about what type of application we can have. We can have a solar water heating application. We can have air heating applications. Fine. As earlier I have talked about various terms, like one is like passive heating and another is active heating. Passive heating means your collector is fixed. It's not moving and you are not concentrating also. And you do not use any kind of fan or a blower or a pump. So those type of systems are thermosiphon systems, or you can say integrated collector. Even evacuated glass tube which are inclined and not moving are passive type. Fine. Direct circulation, active type. Indirect water heating system, active type. And there are various applications: water system, heat pump system, absorption system, air absorption system, refrigeration, and so on. Industrial process heating, yeah. If you need a 300 degrees Celsius water, or maybe of course steam and steam generation system, water production system, desalination system, multi-stage systems, power generation system, solar furnaces, or parabolic tower systems. These are all applications. We will see in detail some of the applications of this type. So let us begin with the solar water heating system. Thermosiphon. What is thermosiphon effect? Let us see that. Can you see the figure which I have open here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think I have a half an hour. I will try to see that. I have still 60 slides. So I have to be slightly fast, but still I will try to see that you understand more and rather you can have a zeal of research in this area. So here this is one of the collector in which you can see lower header is here and upper header. So this is, let's say, kind of a flat plate collector. Just because of the gravity you are allowing water to flow, and as you have a solar heating over here, the hot water moves up and it is collected in the storage tank. This is actually known as a thermosiphon effect. Just by natural density difference, water is flowing, or you can say steam is flowing. Normally steam you will not find here, hot water you will find, but it is thermosiphon effect. There is no pump or nothing is there. So let us see how you can have a real application of this type of solar water heater. Can you see here there are two tanks? Fine. The upper tank is a cold water tank. The lower tank is a hot water tank. Just because of the gravity, water is flowing down and hot water is collected in the tank. Only thing you need to make sure is that hot water is actually having the insulation. Cold water is a normal water tank. That's it. This type of simple system is there, which can be used for a early morning water heating, water requirements, bathing purpose, and so on. Very, very simple thermosiphon water heater system. I hope you have understood this. 2 tanks, solar collector, that's it. Flat plate collector. Headers are there, upper header, lower headers. Headers are nothing but a slightly large size pipe. That's it. Okay. Again, you can see that cold water, hot water system. Hot water is rising. That's why it's called riser, you know. Water is rising. And this is actually kept at certain inclination. That inclination also needs to be designed. So UG level, you know, terrace kind of experiments for a household, you can definitely design. Very simple. You don't need any device which is there required for the motion of the liquid and all. Very, very simple flat plate collector. Flat plate collector, 2 tanks. But this hot water tank is need to be, kind of an insulated tank. That's it. So laboratory model also you can develop very easily. You can see on the top of the house how this type of system can be installed. Another system, similar system. Yeah, another application. You can also have for apartment, you know, multi kind of cylinder. Each household can use it, but it's a multiple systems, the same system, but you have 2 collectors because the requirement family is larger, number of households are there. Fine, you can have this type of system. Yeah, pressurized system also you can have. Okay. Yeah, this is the type of, you know, CPC which we were talking about. You have a collector in which the internal absorber is there. These all radiations are falling on this absorber plate. Fine, this is actually known as a fully developed cusp. Next is about how we can have a direct circulation kind of system, active system. Suppose you have a flat plate collector in which you are allowing the flow of water. Fine. What you have is the cold water through this pump is allowed into this same flat plate collectors, or you can say even evacuated glass tube collectors. This water is pumped into the system, and this hot water is actually collected into storage tank. This is actually known as an active system because now you have a pump. Now you have a pump, and this pump is allowing the flow of water. So you need to even adjust the flow rate so that you have a maintaining of the temperature. So you have a storage tank over here, an auxiliary heater. If suppose this system is not working, fine, there is no sunlight, fine, a cloudy environment is there, or you somehow system is not working, then you can have an auxiliary heater in this, and then you are supplying this hot water to your requirement. So this type of system can be designed with a multiple solar collectors and pump. So the moment pumps comes into the picture, it's called an active system. Now here what you have is, suppose you have a failure of a power, pump doesn't work, then system has to be drained. So drainage system is there. It has to come back to the original system. That's why this drain down system is there. So rest it is same as earlier as I've explained. So the earlier system which I have explained you, if you apply it to the households, what you can see is only collectors at the top. Rest systems are in the room. You don't need to keep it at outside. All those systems, I'm just going back. These systems can be indoor. You can see here, this is outdoor. Rest are indoor. So rest everything can be kept inside the room. So this is the advantage of this type of active system. You have to place only collectors, solar collectors, be it flat plate, be it evacuated glass tube. They only need to be outside the room. Rest is inside the room. That's why it is shown here. These collectors are outside. Rest is inside the room. Same is the system over here. Collectors are outside, 2, 3, maybe you can put number of in series, and rest systems are inside. Yeah. So here it is actually indirect system. Now what is indirect system? The term indirect says that water is heated indirectly. So this system outside is actually having oil or thermic fluid or some fluid which is having good heat transfer capability. So this is the one circuit which is outside, fine, outside. Even within that, collectors are only outside, but flow of fluid is maybe oil, maybe some water which is mixed with some fluid that is circulating into this circuit, and then you are allowing the flow of fluid, water, with this system. So you have an indirect water heating. You do not have a flow of water here, but you have an exchange of heat over here in the storage tank. Are you getting this? Fine. That's why it is called indirect water heating system. Water is not heated directly. It is heated indirectly with this circuit. This is called primary circuit, and here you have a secondary circuit. So both primary and secondary circuit fluid may be different. Fluid may be different here. Again, drainage system in the same system. So you can see here large solar water heating system, number of flat plate collectors are there. And what you are doing is you are allowing oil or maybe some additive into water that is used in a primary circuit, and then secondary circuit is inside the room where you have some kind of application. Now, as you can heat air, you can also heat, as you can heat water, you can also heat air. So let us see how this air heating system can be done. Now in air heating system, let's say flat plate collector or an evacuated glass tube collector, you have a primary circuit where air is heated. Fine, air is heated. First of all, you have a air in this system. Now for air, what we need? We need fan or a blower, you know, low pressure system blower is there. Fine. So this primary, whether cursor is available, visible to you, cursor which I am moving?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. So this primary circuit is actually having flow of air. Then you have an air water heat exchanger. Here it is. This is air water heat exchanger. Then it is moving to the storage tank. So initially you are heating air, and then the air is making heat exchange in heat exchanger over here with water, and that water is stored in the storage tank. Now there is an auxiliary storage system. What if, suppose this system doesn't work, you don't have, you know, solar energy in some duration, then you have an auxiliary storage. Fine, that will be supplied to your load, whatever is your load. And we know for pumping water you need pump. So this secondary motion of the water, for that you need pump and valve, of course. So this is the air system. So primarily in the collector you are heating air. Fine. And again, this is the active system because you are supplying air with the blower. You have to control the flow rate as per the design flow rate. Fine, and then that air is transferring heat in the heat exchanger to water. Okay, I hope you have understood this system. Now let us talk about space heating and space cooling, and hot water, hot air system, and so on. Yeah, again you can see here there is a solar collector. You have a pebble bed storage unit, and air is supplied through fan into this system with the dampers, and then you are supplying it to your load, or you can say your requirement. And if this system doesn't work, then you have a straightaway bypass to auxiliary. Auxiliary is a system which heats with maybe electricity or maybe some engine or some based on some other arrangement you are having this heating system. So that's actually called auxiliary. If this system doesn't work, then you are bypassing the air through auxiliary. If your solar collector is working, then this is the system which is allowing the flow into your load. Of course, with the drainage and all it is showing. The system is actually for, let's say, building air heating. Fine, this is building air heating. The components of this is solar collector, the fan and blower. Fine, here it is fan. Fan is supplying the air to the system and back to the load requirement. Yeah, this is actually the again detailing of the solar water heating system. Now what you have is a number of circuits over here. Let us say first circuit is, let's say, of oil here. Then you have a heat transfer, heat exchanger over here, and then you have a storage tank, and then you have another circuit for a load actually over here, which, or rather this type of systems are having 2-3 requirements. Let's say you have a water heating requirement, you have an air heating requirement. Then what you are doing is, first of all, you are having collector with the oil. Fine. Then that oil is heating, or that oil is transferring heat to some heat transfer fluid, and that heat transfer fluid, heat is stored, and then from that you have two systems. One is air which is taking away heat, and then another circuit which is the water which is taking away the heat. So there is a one single storage tank from which your two requirements of water as well as air heating is taken away with a multiple heat exchanger units. Refrigeration, I am not going into detail because we know refrigeration system are working on two concepts. One is vapor compression refrigeration system, another is vapor absorption refrigeration system. Now that in vapor absorption refrigeration system, you have a generator. That generator requires heating up to 100 degrees Celsius. That heater you can use the solar collector. So that is the concept which is explained here. I am not going into detail of that. You can also have an industrial process heat. Industrial process heat. So now what is industrial process heat requirement? Let us understand that. Now industrial process heat requirements, let us say you have a conventional boiler. Conventional boiler. In that, what you are doing, you are just preheating water. Whatever water you are supplying is preheated. Let's say ambient 30 degrees Celsius water is heated to 70 degrees Celsius. If you can do this with solar collector, then the efficiency of this entire system can be enhanced. In some of the process, let's say you need a requirement of 200 degrees Celsius water or air, or maybe some process requirement is there. Let's say Surat is full of textile industries. You have a requirement of steam, you have a requirement of hot air, for a textile processing units or so on. Then you can have this type of system. So you can see here, solar collector used for a makeup water heating, solar collector used for a steam generation. Fine, of course it can augment, or it can enhance the performance. Fine, or it can be used in maybe for enhancing or auxiliary kind of a requirements. Fine. Processing. So there are 2-3 processes. Out of that, one can be connected to solar collector. So this type of requirement applications are also there as far as solar collector is concerned. Yeah, parabolic trough collector. Parabolic trough can be used for water heating. And of course, first of all, primary circuit is oil. Then you have a water circuit. Yeah, again in parabolic trough, you have a pump. So whenever pump is there, it's an active system. Fine, and then this is a steam flash concept. So parabolic trough collector is there, which is used for generation of steam. Here straight away steam is generated, and that steam is supplied to the flash vessel. Flash vessel have a two components. It has water as well as steam. So steam can be flown in through the valve. So one of the concept is the steam flash system, parabolic trough type collector with steam flash system. So pump is used for pumping the water, and then you have a two-phase flow. Two-phase flow is, one is the steam and another is water, high temperature water, of course. Another is direct steam generation. Direct steam generation is with again parabolic trough collector. In two-phase flow here, it is allowed in the control receiver so that steam is generated directly over here. And you have a separator here. Water is separated and it is back flown into the system. Another is like a unfired boiler steam. Now unfired means there is no firing in the boiler. Only thing is whatever is steam generated through this parabolic trough collector is transferred to this dome, or you can say high pressure vessel, and that steam is actually allowed into your load or a requirement. Fine. Again, this system is having pump and an expansion tank over here. So this is the concept of unfired boiler concept, and heat transfer fluid is circulated through the collector and steam is generated in the heat exchanger. The concept of desalination, I am not going into detail. Let me just explain you this figure here. Now we know desalination is a concept in which you have a large basin, or you can say kind of a water body is there, and at the bottom you have an insulation. You have a direct solar radiation falling on the water basin over here. And once this is heated to appropriate temperature, you have a steam generation into this system. And that steam vapor, or you can say vapor bubbles, vapors are collected into this inclined surface, and the fresh water is collected in this area. And that you can collect into outside. So this requires large surface area. So this is also one of the concept of solar collector, you can say, which is used as in a solar desalination system. Again, you can have a different shapes, effects and all, which is shown over here. You can see, study this in detail. But the basic concept here is a large basin is there. Large water basin is there. And this glass cover is kept so that you can collect the steam. And as it cools down, it falls as the water. And that is collected as the fresh water. This is multiple effect of this boiling evaporator, again, which is used for a water, you can say water generation, you can say source generation, you can, these are the actual plant figures. Thermal power system. We know boilers are basically used for power generation, heat engines are used for a power generation. So what you can do is, you can use collector, you can say parabolic trough collector, and heating and storage system is there, pump is over here, fine. So this boiler is basically used for power generation, or boiler is basically used for a conversion of water to steam, fine. So here, instead of fired boiler, you can use this thermic oil, and then that is actually exchange, heat is exchanged into the boiler, and that boiler heat is used for power generation in the heat engine. Yeah, this is very interesting. Let me explain you this for 5 minutes or so. This figure is very interesting as far as the, you can say, co-generation kind of concept is there. I will explain you how this actually works. First of all, there is a one natural, or you can say natural gas circuit. If you see, this is a natural gas circuit. We know thermal power plant concept. Boiler is there, turbine, condenser, pump. This is a basic circuit over here. Now another circuit is, some part of water is actually going into the solar collector, where you have a steam generation which goes back to superheater, and some of the steam is going back to the turbine. So some mass of the steam is actually, let's say 20% mass of the steam is going through this solar collector area. So you can say that suppose 100 units of steam is generated, out of that 80 is generated by boiler and 20 is generated by this secondary circuit. If you can see this circuit, secondary circuit, in which you have a solar collector which is generating steam, which is going into superheater, which is going into steam generator, and then it is actually transferred to turbine. So this circuit is basically secondary circuit, you can see over here. And the primary circuit over here, you can see, is a natural gas circuit. So in the night time, let's say natural gas circuit is working. During the daytime, it is in, its performance is increased by say 20-30% with this secondary circuit. Okay. And then of course you have a condenser which with a cooling tower and so on. So this is a typical thermal power plant where you can enhance the performance by adding this secondary circuit. Okay. So for this secondary circuit, you need large number of parabolic trough collectors. These are the parabolic trough collectors, because it's a function of area, you know. So that's why for a large area, you need large number of parabolic trough collectors. Yeah, this is how, you know, you can go in detail of parabolic trough itself, you know, what kind of glass they use, what kind of reflectivity it has, transmittivity it has. There are a lot of in detail study of that. Yeah, this is the pictorial view of, you know, central receiver system, which I was talking about. You know, linear glasses. All glasses are focusing at the one tower, this is the receiver end. This is the tower detail, how this tower is all about. You can have a thermic fluid over here, turbine here itself, and then only electricity can be flown down. Heliostat, various collectors. A dish type collector. Number of small dishes are there, which is focusing at a one dish. Fine. Again, you can see here another type of collector where you have again dish only, but the shape is slightly different. You can say the dish type is slightly different shape. Here again, the dish type with number of dishes are there. Eventually, it is a dish, but so the very important aspect of this dish type is you need to have a 2-axis tracking. Again, central receiver with a dish type. Various dish types are there. A circular dish, 2-axis trackings are required. This is moving right through, throughout the day to generate the power here. Another type of dish receiver. All these are dish type of collectors. Yeah, I would like to explain one more thing is like there are softwares available. One of the type of software is Trinsys. This Trinsys is developed by Wisconsin University, Solar Energy Laboratory by Wisconsin University, US. Fine. This is also one of the very important tool which you can use it for analysis purpose. I know one more software is Watson. Watson, you can say Watson. WATSUN, Watson. That is also one of the software which you can use it for analysis purpose. Fine. And I think there is a famous quote which is written by the author from which I have taken a lot of things. Solar energy should be given a chance if we want to protect the environment. We owe it to our children, our grandchildren, and the generations to come. Fine. Thank you very much for attending. Few minutes I have kept for the discussion. And if not, then I have also worked in certain area. Then I can go back to that, that board, and I can show you a few more things which I have worked. But rather, I will give maybe few minutes for discussion first. And if you want me to focus on some area of this presentation, that also I can do. Fine. Or if you have some questions, that also I will take. Otherwise, I will focus on some part of the presentation. Okay. Yeah. Anyone want to ask anything or want to discuss anything or have any query on this? Please ask. I'm here for discussion. 10 minutes, I think I can keep. Yes. Am I audible?
Sir, first of all, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
please.
First of all, your PP, I have seen completely and enjoyed thoroughly in the session, particularly the
Okay.
fundamental concept on the solar. So, sir,
Okay.
your PPT was really very good. So, can you share the same PPT on my WhatsApp so that I can share the same
Yes,
thing to
yes,
the
yes.
participants also?
Yeah. I will tell you one thing.
Yes,
Sir, this is actually from one of the very reputed author. His 65-page paper is there. 65-page paper. I will share that PDF with you. And this presentation is as it is available online, but still I will share with minor modification which I have done. I will share with all of you. Okay.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, one more thing, sir.
Yeah.
Particularly, I would like to say that you start the presentation the way you have explained the different terminology initially with the
Yes.
blank page. So
Yes.
that was really very good, sir. Because of
Okay.
what,
Even I can.
as an
Even
academician,
even I thought I will start again that blank page. That's why I have kept some time. If you have any query, smaller query, any question, if anybody is working in this area, if I can share some knowledge with him, then I'll be great to share with that. Okay.
yeah. So
And
participants,
I would like to also uh, ask participant, is it similar to the sessions which are going on or this is different? Can you tell me that? At least can you tell me that?
Yeah, participants, please say something.
Yeah.
Sir, it is basically different what we have studied up to now, because it is
Oh,
generally it is totally theoretical part. Okay, and so many formulas are there. That's why it is quite difficult to understand all this formula in such a short time period. Okay, sir. So I request you to just start with your that is a starting that what you have taught us in a starting. Okay, from start from that point.
since I am teacher, I know that all teachers are also good students.
And sir, actually, after a very long time, it's feel like it's a chalk and board. Because of we have actually never seen that type of the feeling. I think so far, I think before 1 year or
Um,
maybe since 1 year. So due to
yeah,
the corona pandemic, yeah. So it was
one
really very
thing,
good feeling.
I will tell you. This is with XP Pen, and I am GEM coordinator in department. So I have given to all my faculties as a GEM coordinator this XP Pen. So everyone is teaching like this only with XP Pen.
Sir, what is the cost around about?
7,000, 8,000 rupees.
Okay.
It works very well. So I think we have a funding of CPDA. In that I have tried, and everyone has taken it. Initially, I was also reluctant to use, but now I am also very happy. I'm thinking even classroom I will go with this XP Pen only.
It is,
Okay.
yes, sir. It is really very convenient to explain in the classroom also online, particularly because of it is
Okay.
as like as the chalk and board.
Uh-huh. And I will just share, if possible, some time with you the paper from which I have taken all this. Uh, one paper. Imagine. But you should know which one is correct and which one is good one for you. Is it? Can you see a screen here right now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. So, if possible, of course, I am going to share this paper with you. But this is the one paper which I have considered as a reference. Solar thermal collector and its application. This Soteris Kologirov. He is a editor in many solar energy journal. He is from Cyprus, and he has written this 65-page paper. So if anyone is interested in any of the area of this presentation, you will find complete detail of this in this paper. This one paper itself. So this is like a book for those who want to work in this area. And I'll be sharing this paper with you.
Yeah, sir. One question I have. Actually,
Yes,
you
yes,
have
please.
shown in your presentation that you can use the solar collectors to raise the temperature of the feed water in the power plant.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but sir, actually, practically, I have seen actually one article also that in the thermal power plant, waste heat, what we can say through the chimney itself
Hmm.
having the very high temperature. So
Yes.
rather than use the solar collectors, if you can recover the same heat, then definitely you can raise the temperature of the water. So is it true or not, sir?
Of course, it is right. But suppose if you have a requirement of the order of higher temperature, and if you are using thermic fluid, and if you can reach 200 degrees Celsius with thermic fluid, then the performance enhancement will be a bit significant. See, only limitation is you need lot of land and initial cost. Otherwise, it is beneficial. Because with thermic fluid, you can go 200, 300 degrees Celsius. So straight away steam generation can be done there. Imagine. But with wastewater, you cannot reach to that level of steam generation. Fine.
Okay, sir. So we have to optimize whether you have compromised the land area, then the cost,
Lot of
and
things,
yes,
lot of
yes,
things, and like initial investment is also there, and your requirement, kind of what is your requirement also there, and like you will have a, even if you can suppose your requirement is like 10% of every annual energy, 10% of coal is saved, let's say 15% is saved, and it's a large plant, so you can imagine.
yes, sir. So any question from the participants?
Yeah.
Sir, generally solar concentrator are divided into two parts. One is the point type collector, second one is the line type collector. So which
Correct.
are the point type and which are the line type?
See, parabolic trough type or line type. You can see that parabolic trough. Fine. Trough is line type. Point type dish is point type. I have explained you here. You know, dish, solar dish. If you have, it's a point type, and point is very difficult. You can see two-axis tracking is required. Simplest or easiest way of harnessing energy is flat plate. Fine. But suppose if you want to reach higher temperature, you want to have a thermic fluid flow and so on, then you can go for trough type collector and single axis tracking. But tracking, again, tracking mechanism you need to design. Mechanical design part comes into picture.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So Rathod sir, now
Yes.
you want to show something more because of the time is actually now 1:15, so that is actually over. Yeah, so
I have shown you paper.
yeah,
Actually,
sir.
yeah, there are my papers also. Okay, I'll just tell you. We have developed parabolic trough type collector. We have a solar dryer also, and one more type of collector which is Scheffler collector. That also we work on. My doctoral study was on solar Scheffler collector. Fine. There also you have a two axis tracking. So those type of work, I mean, I have not added anything which we are what we are doing. So I would have loved some other day, we will discuss what we are doing, what setup we have. So, but the focus was on type of collector. I think I have covered entire spectrum that way. So even in open access, my paper is there in International Journal of Hydrogen Energy. In that you can see solar collector of Scheffler type I have used. In our laboratory, we are working in solar dryer area, even in a parabolic trough, we are working in that area also. Okay. So someday, if time permits, we'll also discuss those things. Okay.
Yes,
I
sir.
hope you
So
have got something in this lecture.
yeah, definitely, sir. Definitely.
And if you have missed something, I'm sharing the paper. I'm also sharing the PPT with you, 120 slides PPT. Whenever you are free, it is, of course, it is open access, available online. But I have made some modifications. With those modifications, I will share it with the committee members. Okay.
Okay, sir. So you can
Yeah.
send me on my WhatsApp number, and then
Yeah.
definitely I can share
Rather, I will
the.
mail. It will be
Yeah,
better.
okay. Yeah,
Uh,
no problem, sir.
uh,
No problem.
and sir, I would like to request one thing, if
Yes,
possible,
sir.
get a feedback through
Yeah,
Google Form or
definitely, sir.
something.
Yeah,
Feedback
sir.
of
Definitely.
this particular session. Okay, I'll be very happy. I'll be
Okay,
ready to
sir.
correct myself. I'll be happy to have some feedbacks. Not only positive, both sides. I'm open for both side positives, both side
Yes, sir.
feedbacks. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And once again, I thank you for inviting me as a speaker in this beautiful program which you have organized.
So, sir, at last, on behalf of SASIT, I would like to thank you, Dr. Vikram Rathod, sir, for sparing your valuable time among us. And we have actually learned so many things actually from your session, and the way of your presentation, the way of the explaining the fundamental concept, the terminology. So it was really beautiful, sir. So thank you again for
Thank you
sparing
very much.
this valuable time. Yes, sir.
And yeah,
So yeah.
last one thing I would like to say, I am available in Sustainable and Renewable Energy Lab, SVNIT. This is a pandemic time right now. I cannot invite, but other than that, whenever you are there and there in SVNIT, you can visit our laboratory. You can collaborate. You can work with me. Fine. So my email ID is also there in the PPT. Okay, I am working with Dr. Bale sir in my laboratory. So we are a team. We have few more faculty members joining with me. You can join us with for a research work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, once again.
Thank you.
Yeah, now there will be the break and we will meet once again as per the schedule. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. Rathod sir.